Today we're going to chapter 5 of SD 38. It is on page 116. This is a new topic. The Brahma Vihara, the divine abodes. This is a very important teaching in early Buddhism. It's about meditation. In fact, it covers more than meditation. You can say this is the Buddha's answer to the dominant religion of his day. It is the Brahmanism, which tries to exploit the people, try to monopolize religion. So the Buddha introduced this set of practices in a sense to free the people, to give them a choice, if you like. But let us begin by examining the word Brahma Vihara. Brahma comes from the root word Briha, meaning to make big or strong. Or from there you get the word Brahma. Brahma itself can mean perfect, or it can be a name, the name of the high god in the Buddha's time. It's a very important archetypal image in early Buddhism, representing a kind of very wonderful divine qualities, the best divine qualities, if you like. Something like what in modern Jungian psychology would call the wise old man, if you like. So Brahma is always concerned with goodness in the world. He's the one who invites the Buddha to teach the Dharma and so on. In fact, he even comes down on occasion to appear before a Brahma worshipper. It's like, if you like, you can say, this is God today coming down to a God worshipper and telling him, don't make any offerings to Brahma, to him, because he doesn't take such offerings. He doesn't need such earthly offerings, because these gods, they don't take the kind of food we offer. So here we see the early Buddhist conception of a high god is not someone who demands worship, rather someone who encourages the world to practice goodness, to, in a sense, rely on themselves to be happy. So that's Brahma. Then Vihara is a noun, abstract noun from Viharati. Viharati means he dwells, he lives, or he resides, or he sits even. So Vihara is a place where we dwell, kind of residence, if you like, which can also translate as abode. So you join the two words together, Brahma Vihara, the abode of Brahma, divine abode. And by extension, we can also translate as positive emotions, qualities of a leader, qualities of a professional, and so on. So there are many usages of these four qualities, as we will see in this study. In a sense, we can also translate Brahma Vihara as the state of Brahma himself, or more exactly, our internal state of this God idea. So this teaching is very vital in Buddhism. In other words, we have two main meditation. One is the breath meditation, the other is loving kindness. And loving kindness is the first of the four Brahma Viharas, the four divine abodes. In a way, we can say this teaching especially addresses God believers. And as you know, there are many God believers today, even in the Buddha's time. Why do people need such an idea? Well, there are at least two basic reasons. Number one is they feel that they need protection, some kind of security. So there is this fatherly figure in the heaven to take care of themselves. An idea, a very comforting idea. Then they, on another level, they feel they need security. They fear death, so you have the idea of the soul. Of course, that the Buddha rejects from common sense. There can never be anything permanent. There can be no eternal essence, but everything changes. Whereas the idea of a God figure is accepted in early Buddhism I would say in a mythical sense. In other words, it's a very popular belief, and the Buddha finds this kind of belief helpful in teaching the Dharma as a bridge, if you like. It won't be wise or advantageous to attack such ideas, in a sense to totally reject these ideas, because people are really stuck with this kind of ideas. So we have to gently, carefully wean them away from such mental drugs, if you like. So we have to gently, in other words, show them how to practice it properly, how to understand this kind of concept properly. So what's wrong with the God idea? Number one, it is external. In other words, it's something outside us, and the Buddha keeps telling us our problems lie within us, craving and ignorance, so we have to deal with them inside us. We can't look outside for an answer. Secondly, the God idea is imaginative. It's an imaginative idea. It's out there. It's not real. There are so many God ideas, and all those groups say their God is true and deny all the other gods. So it's quite a political thing. So the Buddha is saying it doesn't matter what kind of God you believe, but always remember you can cultivate those godly qualities inside you. I remember here a very beautiful story about how the Indonesian Buddhists solved a problem during Sukarno's time. At that time they were afraid of communism. So, and they kind of are very simplistic in the definition: if you don't believe in God, you're a communist. And that made the Buddhists, put the Buddhists in a very difficult situation. Because in Buddhism we don't worship any kind of God idea. So one of those senior monks who has been trained in Vajrayana, he said, oh, we do have a God idea, it's called Adi Buddha. That creates another problem, because Adi Buddha is a concept which is not in mainstream Buddhism. In fact, it's one of those very rare concept which is not accepted properly anyway. And in fact, nobody believes in this kind of Buddha today. Fortunately, a group of concerned and informed Theravada Buddhists, they say, oh no, we do have this concept, but we don't have a concept of Tuhan, of God, but we do have the concept of ketuhanan. Ketuhanan means godliness, and that's the Brahma Vihara. So we do believe in these qualities of godliness which we want to cultivate within us. This is even more beautiful than the God idea. You worship God in the God idea, but you have to cultivate these 4 Brahma Viharas within you. In other words, you behave like God would behave. Isn't that the more wonderful way of learning? So this is where we have here what is called a philosophy of Buddhism, philosophy of religion, and Buddhism giving us guidelines on how to solve this problem. I mean, you can talk all wonderful things about God. You can say God is all-powerful, all-present, eternal, all good, all kind, and so on. But these are just words. Because you notice that the very people who say all these things do not live up to those wonderful words. They use this idea to wage wars, to exploit people, to bring suffering to others, break up families. So they don't actually practice these wonderful ideas which they themselves champion. The simple thing to note here is you cannot define anything into existence. For example, if I say, oh yes, there's this beautiful horse, it's got a sharp horn on the top of the head, this is called a unicorn. I can define these things, but they're stories. Just because I define them doesn't mean they exist. We call it fiction. So this is the same thing with the God idea. Then some people may say, okay, we need this kind of idea because this idea helps people to be good. But again, you find that's not true, because wherever you see there's a God idea, actually there's more problem than goodness. Look at all this mass bombing, mass killing today, cult murders. All these people believe in some kind of God. So belief in a God as power is very troubling. Whereas the 4 Brahma Viharas they clearly define what are the four qualities of this God. Like you see sometimes in certain Thai temples there is a figure with four faces. That's Brahma with the four faces. The four faces represent the four divine abodes. When you stand in front of this image, the front face is loving kindness, and the next one is compassion, and then behind is gladness, and then the last one is equanimity. And the four faces also represent universality. This is to be cultivated everywhere, all around, to everyone. So this is even a more wonderful concept, in other words, for us to practice. Instead of saying God is out there as the Brahmin's champion, the Buddha said, godliness is within you. This is like saying the kingdom of heaven is within you. The Christians like to say this, but it's very difficult for the Christians to explain this. But if you know the Bible and you know Christianity, you find it's so easy to understand this if you know Buddhism. So there'll come a time when, especially today, you find so many religions so close to each other. One religion helps another religion to understand itself better. But more important than understanding religion is to understand yourself. I mean, it's not really helpful to understand any religion, even Buddhism. You can understand a lot of Buddhism, but then your life is not changed, you're not a better person, you're not a happy person, you're not a kind person. What's the point? So here is where you find there are all these good teachings in various religions. Now, I'm not saying all religions are good, that's another different thing. There are good teachings in different religions. And if you look at all these different good teachings, they somehow explain each other. They help to clarify the goodness in the different religions. So if we can do that, then we begin to understand better. For example, if we understand, temple of God is within me, godliness is within me, the Brahma Vihara is within me, you feel empowered to practice. You are no more afraid of the idea someone said you are a sinner, you can't help yourself. That is very disempowering, very negative, very bad, dangerous statements, very dehumanizing. But here you have a very empowering statement saying you can help yourself. And this is a very important statement. You might say one of the most important religious statements in human history. So the idea that we can help ourselves, the idea that we can cultivate godly qualities within us is a very wonderful ability that we have. Because if we externalize such ideas, then those ideas can be manipulated by other people. It can be used by other people. Whereas if you cultivate within you, you become positive yourself. And you can't lose that because you are those qualities. And more importantly, these qualities are healing. They actually heal us. If you come here regularly enough, you'll notice there are people who tell you, wow, I find this loving kindness really heal me. People have been known to cry and they say, wow, I never thought just saying, I accept myself just as I am. I feel so good about this. So this is a very healing meditation, in other words, this four Brahma Viharas. Now, what's interesting about these Brahma Viharas is that they kind of build up, becoming more refined, more difficult, so to speak. And they also help our other meditation, like breath meditation. People who find difficulty doing other meditation, usually they need loving kindness. So loving kindness in simple terms is that it's unconditional acceptance of others. We accept other people just as they are, whoever they may be, whether they're Buddhist or not, whether they're human or not. And we can't do this if we believe in a God idea, especially an all-powerful God idea, because that love must be shown to this God first and only shown to God. And normally they also say fear, to fear God. So in other words, human love for human beings, love for others is secondary. It's conditional. conditioned by the love of God. So if you're a God believer, you can never really unconditionally love other human beings. It kind of contradicts the idea. So you have to somehow get out of the system, so to speak. That's the best way, Otherwise, we face a lot of other problems. In fact, today you find many of these theologians or honest to themselves who study the Bible deeply after many, many years, and they find, wow, there's something wrong here. Number one, what they teach in the church and about pulpit is not exactly what is in the Bible. The next thing, you don't see people behaving according to what they teach. So these honest teachers, they give up this idea of Christianity as a religion. They still teach, but it's because that's the only thing they've learned, so they earn a living. They still teach the Bible, but they write in a very honest way. And that helps a lot. So in a sense, I feel the same way too. After studying 30, 40 years of Buddhism, I find, my goodness, these people, they study Buddhism as a religion. They don't even know what the suttas are about. They don't even practice the suttas. They don't even behave like the Buddha. Something's wrong here. So this is where we have to go back to basics, in other words. One way to go back to basics is very simple ways to practice the 4 Brahma Viharas. So loving kindness is this unconditional acceptance of others, accepting people just as they are, beginning there. Accepting yourself just as you are, accepting myself just as I am. Then secondly is compassion. When people are less fortunate than us, we try to put this loving kindness into action, and we stretch our hand, we do something, whatever we can, to help this person, whether they deserve it or not. If we see someone on the road in trouble, we don't stop and say, hey, are you a Buddhist or not? If you're not a Buddhist, I won't help you. We just help this person first. Just compassion. Showing kindness even when people do not deserve it. Then the third quality is gladness. Mudita, the metta, karuna, mudita, is joyfulness when someone is better than us, someone does good, someone is happy. We say, oh, that's good, wonderful. Sadhu. We're happy that you're happy. We feel happy when other people are happy. The last one is the most difficult quality, equanimity. We try to do good, we do lots of, we study, we work, we try to change the world, we try to change the environment around us, but still somehow some things remain unchanged. No matter how hard we work, some things still remains undone, yet to be done. So we learn to take things as they are, just as they are. We don't blame ourselves, we don't blame anybody. We just say, well, karma is a way of working. We have done our best, so we just got to let things be for the moment. Remember, all these things are impermanent, so there is all this shifting emotions, so we got to constantly be very positive. Of course, the practice is deeper than that. When you reach the level of equanimity, it's a very profound state. The highest level, the real level of equanimity is the 4th jhana. We'll talk about these 4 Brahma Viharas jhana a little later. So this practice of the jhana, some people say, oh, it's not Buddhistic, it comes from outside of Buddhism. And there are some traditions which even discourage us from practicing it. Interestingly, you find among such people, they can't smile, they're not happy. And also their meditation, not very good. You get breakdowns, things like that. So it's not very healthy. The 4 Brahma Viharas may be pre-Buddhistic, but surely the Buddha has very good reasons to accept it. And there's so many suttas on the Brahma Viharas in all the 4 Nikayas. For example, in Majjhima 83, there is a sutta called Makhadeva Sutta, which talks about an ancient king in Mithila. Right? This is section 1.3.1, 131. You find this king cultivates divine abodes and is reborn in the Brahma world. Well, there was no Buddhism at that time, so he practices loving kindness. He has a happy rebirth. So, in other words, the Buddha himself accepts the fact that this Brahma Vihara is Buddhistic. And then this historical king Mahagovinda in the past life. In fact, this is the life just before the present Buddha's life. And here in this Sutta 2, Mahakumita Sutta D19, you find the Buddha was a Brahmin called Jyotipala, and in this Sutta 2, there is the practice of loving kindness is mentioned there. So you can look at these suttas in detail if you want to know the rest, the stories. The point is, when we practice loving kindness and the other three Brahma Vihara, it helps us to clear our minds of negative emotion, of mental hindrances, and from there you can go on to practice loving kindness also. In fact, even if we practice loving kindness by itself, we can still attain some levels of awakening if we go on to reflect on impermanence. So it is wrong to say that the Brahma Viharas do not bring any kind of spiritual benefit. It does. Another important and simple point to remember, simple yet important point to remember, is that heaven is here within us. When you practice the four Brahma Viharas, the four divine abodes, you are in heaven as you practice it. You don't have to wait until after death, posthumously, to go to heaven. You can attain heaven in this life itself. It's not an afterlife thing. It's not an external thing. Wherever you go, you bring this joy with you, and it also benefits others. This is true godliness, in other words. And we have another, I mentioned just now, when you practice the Brahma Viharas, you can free your mind from the world and even attain some level of awakening. You have a sutta called Metta Sahagata Sutta, Samyutta 46.54, chapter 46, Sutta 54. See you have Diga, Majjhima, Samyuttas. All three are mentioned. There are other suttas in the Anguttara also. So here, this sutta is also called Halida Vasana Sutta, which talks about which gives a difference between the pre-Buddhist practice and the practice as taught by the Buddha. Some wanderers came to the Buddha and asked the Buddha, he says, you also teach the four Brahma Viharas, we also practice the four Brahma Viharas, so what's the difference? The Buddha says, the way he teaches it, it leads to liberation of mind, whereas in the other systems, you don't reach that level. What is liberation of mind? Liberation of mind means you can attain jhanas. In other system, they can't. Now what's interesting here is that, supposing that in the Makadeva story, it's not a Buddhist situation. The king Makadeva is meditating with the four Brahma Viharas. Obviously, you do not attain jhanas. In that case, even if we practice the four Brahma Viharas and we don't attain jhana, according to the story, we can still attain heavenly rebirth. So there is some benefit there, although of course we don't look highly to such rebirth in early Buddhism. The point is, you combine this with other practices like the 7 awakening factors. You practice mindfulness, Dhamma investigation, effort, zest, tranquility, concentration, and equanimity. In other words, you really practice it and learn to let go of the mental hindrances, then you can attain jhana, you can attain full mental concentration, and then you come out of it, you reflect on impermanence. Why is it that the teachers up to the Buddha's time, in others before the Buddha, they could meditate. You have people like Arala Kalama, Karama Buddha, and his father before him. They could go into very high levels of meditation. It is said that Alara could go up to the level of nothingness, the base of nothingness. And Uddaka's father, Rama, the meditator called Rama, he could go up to the level of neither perception or non-perception, but he could not go beyond that. Because they believe in the idea of a soul, something eternal. It's like scientists today, they will tell you that there is something called the atom, and this atom is unchanging, is fixed. No scientists will agree with that today, because they even know this, even the atom is this kind of changing all the time, and then we have to reach out the quantum level of science and so on. So in a sense, the Buddha has this quantum idea of religion. He just feels that where's the soul? Everything is impermanent. The idea of the soul doesn't fit in. So he left these two teachers and he went on his own meditation, doing the breath meditation, not relying on the idea of the soul at all, and he attained awakening. So the Buddha internalized all these qualities, while the other wanderers look for answers outside of themselves. So what happens when we internalize, when we look within in our practice? The first thing we experience would be calmness, and this is 2.1.1. We cultivate samatha. Loving kindness helps us to cultivate calmness. It's a very beautiful meditation of joy, of happy memories. And then we cultivate the joy, we just let the joy pervade our whole body and environment. And when we do this, we become fearless like the gods themselves. But more important than that, we cultivate these qualities to the level of being immeasurable, apamanya. It means we do not limit it to only our people or our tribe, but to all beings everywhere. In many religions, salvation is only reserved for human beings. Animals have no place. They even say it's okay to kill animals, for example. But in Buddhism, we talk about a cycle of life. We could be reborn as animals becoming humans, becoming devas, and so on. So all life is precious. All beings, may they be well and happy. That is why we need to be immeasurable in our loving kindness. Immeasurable means no boundaries, no limits, no exceptions in all beings, because all life is interconnected. So you find there's a very, very important philosophy in the teaching of Brahma Vihara. Now, when we look at the four Brahma Viharas, the first is loving kindness. And there's a very good reason why loving kindness comes first. Yes, it is the easiest of the four qualities to practice. It is the best place to start, because Brahma Vihara underlies all the other three abodes also. In a sense, you can say all the four divine abodes is about loving kindness. In the first practice, we share and send our loving kindness to all beings, all alike, to all the world. Then, as compassion, that loving kindness is transformed into action. As gladness, that loving kindness is transformed into appreciative joy. You appreciate the fact that you are here studying the suttas, that you are good people. You rejoice in that. And lastly, there are many people out there who don't like the suttas, who don't study suttas, who are in trouble, and yet they do not know how to look for answers. There are people, for example, who really love to come to join us for studies, to study suttas. Then they say, I can't come because my wife doesn't allow me to come. Or I can't come because my husband doesn't allow me to come. And so on and so forth. Or I have no time. So, we can't be spending our time lamenting about them. Circumstances have prevented them. We wish them well and happy. We try our best to reach out to them. We keep this equanimity, even in the face of seeming failure, in other words, because the work has to go on. So this is one way of applying the four Brahma Viharas to our work. Now, so how do we actually practice this Brahma Vihara? Now there's a stock passage here from the Tevijja Sutta, which gives us a good idea how this is practiced. We only need to look at the first passage. There are four. Let's look at the one on loving kindness. This is on page 122, at the bottom. In brackets 1. With the heart of loving kindness, he dwells self-using 1/4, the second, the third, the fourth. Thus above, below, across, everywhere, and to everyone, as well as to himself. He dwells suffusing the whole world with loving kindness that is vast, exalted, boundless, without hate, without ill will. So this is a kind of sending loving kindness in a locational, directional way. First, 4 directions, above, below. So you have 6 directions altogether. And then it says, to everyone, as well as to himself. Now this word is sabatataya. This on the next page, 1, 2, 3. Sabatataya. Sabba, atta, taya. Sabba is all, atta is self. So here is a dvandva, to all and to yourself. For some strange reason, some translators actually, like Ukubodhi, they miss this particular word from this translation. To all beings and also ourselves. So in other words, we have to send outwards, but we must also bring it back to ourselves. We must not forget ourselves. And this is where you have the famous 11 directions. In the image of Kuan Yin, you have Kuan Yin with 11 faces. These are all symbolic of loving kindness. Why 11? 11 are the directions. North, east, south, west are 4, and then the directions in between 4 more. You get 8, and above and below you have 10, and the 11th is within yourself. So this 11th direction is put into art form. What is taught in such suttas as this, Devaja Sutta and elsewhere. So we must not forget to love ourselves, but not to stop there, of course. This is also the application of the golden rule. In other words, just as we love ourselves, other people, other beings also love themselves. So, by that same token, we should send our loving kindness to others too. So you can see there's a moral aspect of loving kindness also. Then you have terms like vast, exalted, boundless. Here the idea is to send out your loving kindness without limits. And to, if possible, to cultivate to the level of jhana itself. To attain the level of jhana means your mind is totally free from craving and hatred. It's totally focused. Without hate, without ill will. Once you have attained loving kindness, of course your mind is free from such negative emotions. Here there is the famous parable of the conch blower, this person blowing his big horn, and the sound can be heard. It's a very loud, very majestic sound. The sound can be heard for a large area all around. So our loving kindness also should go out like that, everywhere. Now, of course, meditation is loving kindness is one of the easiest meditation to do. The Buddha doesn't say some of these very interesting points about loving kindness. It doesn't say it of breath meditation. For example, here we have a set of suttas in Anguttara Nikaya. See, this is the 4th Nikaya. All the Nikayas mentioned the Brahma Vihara. That you just need to do loving kindness even for a moment. It's on page 124, section 2.2, a moment's practice. In the Chulachara Sutta, the Buddha says, if you associate yourself, cultivate or mentally attain to loving kindness, even for a moment it takes to snap your fingers. Chulachara, you have practiced his teaching. Then in another sutta, S20.4, Okka Sutta, the Buddha says, if you were to give 100 pots of food or 100 pots of rice, morning, noon and night, that's 300 pots a day. Very great merit. You give this rice to monks, people who need food. But if you practice loving kindness, for just a moment it takes to pull the cow's teeth and to milk a cow. Now that's just for a few seconds. You just sit quiet and say, may all beings be well and happy. You have practiced the Buddha's teaching. So there's no excuse to say we can't meditate. Because before you go to bed, you can say, may all beings be well and happy, and you fall asleep. The moment you get up, the first thought is, may all beings be well and happy, or may I be well and happy, may my family be well and happy. You have practiced the Buddha's teaching. Of course, there's a catch there, you see. Because if you can say it for a moment, you can also say it for as long as you like. Because you feel it becomes natural. If you do this regularly, one of the things you will notice is your dream quality improve. You have wonderful dreams. Dreams about sacred things, holy things. Sometimes I even get ideas, to do for my writings in my dreams. They're very happy dreams. So this shows that the loving kindness is working. There's nothing magical about it. It's just being constant about this kind of. It's a positive emotion. More importantly, this kind of practice heals us, so that we are happy and we do not face emotional problems, and we're able to sort things out. And if we were to teach this kind of method to others, we're helping them also. Rather than being superstitious or having all kinds of difficulties, they can heal themselves. So if you do this, then you are called a spiritual friend. Because a spiritual friend is someone who teaches meditation to another. Spiritual friendship is a relationship between teacher and pupil who are learning meditation. Strictly speaking, it's the teacher who's a spiritual friend and it's the student. But broadly, we would say they are spiritual friends. So spiritual friendship is so important. The Buddha says it is the whole of the spiritual life, Adha Sutta. Not just half, because Ananda taught is half meaning you cultivate this yourself and the rest you have to depend on the teacher. But the Buddha says it's everything. So on page 125 you see the sources of the divine abodes. What suttas are those which are the key ones teaching the practice? The most famous of course is the Karanya Metta Sutta, which we have studied. Then you have this is Kudaka Pata 9 or Sutta Nipata 1.8, Sutta Nipata chapter 1, Sutta number 8. They are the same sutta appearing in two places. Then Metta Sahagata Sutta, S 46.54. This is found, it's already translated, it's found in SD 10.11. You can check this online if you want. Then the divine abodes are also mentioned with similes connected with other teachings. In the Tevijja Sutta, D13, found in SD 1.8, you have the divine abodes mentioned with similes, parables. But Tevijja Sutta is interesting because this is the only of the 13 sutta where the Buddha teaches these Brahmins, and the teaching doesn't end with Arahatu. It stops at the first jhana because the audience are beginners. Then you have another sutta called the Vutta Vasa Vasa Sutta. Divine abodes combined with elements, 4 elements. This is in A9.11. It's also translated already in SD 28.21. And then you have the Brahma Vihara Sutta, a very interesting sutta, where the Buddha talks about how practicing the divine abodes can limit the effects of your karma. This is from A10.206, and this sutta is found in SD 2.10. And then you have the Garava Sutta, where to respect others is to practice the 4 divine abodes. This is in S6.2, right? So you can see this mentioned in SD 12.3. So loving kindness can begin with words, then we have thoughts, and then we have feelings, then we have just the beautiful silence of mind that is joyful. We begin with words, and the words are given here. For example, in this Anguttara Nikaya, A10.176, the 3 suttas with the same Metta Bhavana words. Page 125. He is one with a mind free of ill will, a mind without any bad thought, thinking. May these beings be free from hate. Ime satta avira untu. May they be free from suffering. Avyapajja. Untu. Okay, the word is abhyapaja, but you can add untu if you like. Abhyapaja also means affliction. May they be free from affliction. May they be free from suffering. May they be free from trouble. Anika untu. May they continue to be happy. Sukhi attanam pariharantu. Right, so these are the Pali words and the English words. So we can begin using words, then you begin to think about them. So in other words, start with the mouth, you recite them, and then it goes to the mind, the brain if you like, you think about them, and then you let it come to the heart, feel it. So these are different stages of letting go the body, and then if you're so happy, just silence, enjoy it. So you can do it in the vertical sequence. You start with yourself. May I be free from anger. May I be free from hate. May I be free from suffering. May I be free from trouble or difficulties. May I continue to be happy. And then you send it to someone close to you, someone dear to you. It's easier to recall such a person. Of course, this second stage, dear person, normally is a relative, friend or teacher, not your spouse or partner or even parent too early at this point. Otherwise, some negative emotion may arise. And then third stage is a neutral person. In other words, you're kind of widening the scope. And then number 4 is a hostile, negative person. This stage is quite difficult, so if you're a beginner, you're still unable to handle this stage, so just forego this stage at first. But I've known beginners who come here for the first time and after the first session, they're so happy, they say, wow, I really love this meditation, I can even send my happy thoughts to people I don't like. That is really wonderful to hear. And then to all beings, that's the most important stage. Or you can do it in a locational or geographical style. You do it to yourself and then to everyone in the room. Picture yourself. This is where it's helpful to picture some kind of a device like a beautiful flower, bright light. You use the image of light and this light shining out on everyone in the room. May they all be well and happy. Everyone in the house or in the building, the office. Everyone in the neighborhood, the area nearby. So this also means we've got to be aware of the environment, to go out, look around, and then to the whole country. Imagine you're high up in the sky looking down, and feel your whole country shining like the bright sun everywhere in the country, wishing everyone well and happy. And then the region, then the whole world, and the whole universe is breaking barriers. Whole universe, that means unconditional, everywhere, your totality of your mind. So the question now we might ask is, how do we send our loving kindness to the whole world? Does the whole universe actually get it? But to be honest with you, I don't know. Because it depends on how strong your mind is. But one thing we know is this mind can be very powerful and thoughts can travel somehow. But you definitely need to be focused. But that's not the point. Whether you can send your energies right to the end of the universe or not, that's not the point. We have these ideas in our minds, in our heads, if you like. That's our universe. So when we do loving kindness, we do these 4 Brahma Viharas if we can. We are purifying our internal universe. That is what is important to us. Because if we can do that, you will somehow affect, influence other people. They can sense this radiance inside you. This radiance cannot stay inside. It will somehow seep outwards and people can feel it. They feel you're a very wonderful person to be near, you're a safe person, you're a happy person, you're a kind person. They just want to talk to you. And you find that all you need to do is just gently tell them how you yourself have practiced loving kindness and they themselves will benefit. So we'll stop here for today, because in the next section I will go on to talk about in more detail the stages. Okay, any questions? start section 3.2. We'll continue with 3.2 next time. Okay, let us do a short reflection. Today we begin our study, reflection on the Brahma Vihara, the divine abodes, loving kindness, compassion, gladness, and equanimity. This is a practice which is healing and which helps us, empowers us to save ourselves as we are, to be happy, to be healing, and also to accept other people just as they are, and to heal them too. Reflecting in this way, we create a lot of wonderful good karma. With the power of this karma, may our loving kindness be stronger, may our minds be at peace. Above all, may in this life itself we attain spiritual liberation, namely stream living. With this peaceful mind, let us send our loving kindness to our relatives, friends, people we know, even to our enemies, to wish them well and happy, to the Dharma men touched, and to the many people out there who still have not been touched with the Dharma. May they see this truth in themselves and be good and kind people. Let us send our loving kindness to all our loved ones too, wherever they may be. May all beings be well and happy. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.